It seems like whenever Rihanna has something in the works or there is any discussion about Rihanna, there's always an elephant in the room. Well,
ladies and gentlemen, and non-binaries of the interweb.
That elephant is Beyoncé. I know, shocker. Now what prompted this video is the comment sports journalist Stephen Smith made about Rihanna performing at the next Super Bowl halftime show while he was on Sherry Show, where he said this.
She ain't Beyonce.
So yeah, you see what I mean? When Rihanna's name gets brought up, Beyoncé gets inserted into the conversation unwarrantedly, and there is a reason for this, and I will provide more details on that in a bit. Personally, I'm not upset about his comments. He said what he said. However, I do think his comment was a little unnecessary and not needed. It showed the fact that a lot of people still feel like Rihanna is below or a lesser artist to Beyoncé, and they just can't help but show their beehive card to kind of intentionally or unintentionally overshadow Rihanna. Now, it's one thing when the conversation is who is better, Beyoncé or Rihanna, and a whole different ballgame when the discussion is individual based. But I want to make it clear that I do understand why this happens. Rihanna's debut studio album, Music of the Sun, came out in 2005, and ever since her debut, we've witnessed her struggle to find her footing in the music industry, from lackluster performances, questionable vocals, and Beyoncé comparisons, to now being one of the biggest and most beloved artists in the world. In this video, I'll dive deep into Rihanna's career once more, not to prove, but to show you how Rihanna leveled up to Beyoncé. If you are a stan of Beyoncé, I recommend you watch this video, and in this video I will be comparing their success, so please don't hit me with that don't compare them or stop pitting black women against each other. Stop it. Meanwhile, at your job, you're literally being compared to everybody else in your department, or if you're in school, everyone's being stock ranked and no one complains.
Stop it.
This is not a unique or negative situation, but more like a competitive situation. Now, let's get into the video. Rihanna was born in the parish of St. Michael, located on the island of Barbados, thousands of miles away from the bright lights of Hollywood. In the year of 2003, Rihanna seized the moment of a lifetime when she auditioned for American producer Evan Rogers, and from there she was able to audition for L.A. Reid and Jay-Z. Side note, Beyoncé kind of helped L.A. Reid in signing Rihanna to Def Jam. Now these labels, they have showcases for upcoming artists, singers, songwriters, producers, etc. At that particular showcase, Rihanna and another artist named Tia Maria were auditioning, and L.A. Reid was paying more attention to Tia Maria. At the end of the showcase, Beyoncé was like, I don't know about you, my boy, but Rihanna, she's the one.
She got that dog in her.
Now, that's not exactly what Beyoncé said, but basically that's what happened. Rihanna's debut studio album, Music of the Sun, was released in 2005 under Def Jam Recordings. Now, when Rihanna was introduced in 2005, she immediately stood out. She was beautiful, charming, basically the girl next door type beat. Although the then new artist, Rihanna, was steadily growing her fan base, and people loved and adored her, she would get a lot of critique for her music and performances. Many would find a problem with Rihanna's singing ability and complain her voice sounded strained live when compared to her studio recordings. Robert Christgau of The Village Voice rated her debut, Music of the Sun, a dud, calling it a bad record whose details rarely merit further thought. So yeah, Rihanna's first album came in 2005, and before you know it, her second album was released in 2006, A Girl Like Me. The singer's overall work ethic and performances did improve, but she still got hate for lackluster vocals and performances, and was constantly compared to Beyoncé, especially when she came out confirming Beyoncé was her biggest idol in 2005.
My greatest idol is Beyoncé.
Now, just a little advice: if you're an upcoming artist and you start getting pushed in the industry, don't tell us who your idol is if you can be compared to them in some way, because you might be setting up yourself to be in their shadow for a large amount of your career. Unless if you're going to sing better, dance better than them. Otherwise,
no, don't do it.
Instead, say your idol is, I don't know, Elton John or Vitas. Or say your idol is the person who invented the happy birthday song. So yeah, Rihanna would get compared to Beyonce a lot, especially when it came to her music videos, as many fans would point out the similarities with the choreography and art direction. People would even say Rihanna copied her signature short haircut that she was known for from Beyonce's Me, Myself and I music video, from the scene where Beyonce cut her hair. I think people compare them so much because in the 2000s, there wasn't a lot of highly successful young black female artists that could compete with Beyonce aesthetically or commercially. Back then we had Ciara, but she slowly became less relevant by the close of that decade because of the rise of Rihanna, in my opinion. Just a little thought insert, I think Aaliyah would have been another black female artist who would have dominated the music industry, but unfortunately Aaliyah passed away in 2001 in a plane accident. We had Alicia Keys, but Alicia was in her own lane, and Mary J. Blige was already a legend by then, so people weren't comparing them. But when Rihanna came out, she had the similar high performance music videos, and she was getting pushed. Although Rihanna's sales didn't compare to Beyonce then, she was getting pushed like crazy. She had the big endorsements, dramatic music videos, live performances. I remember at one point her legs even got insured, so she had the hype and the controversies.
I gotta be honest, all these people are saying these crazy things.
Yes.
People are saying that Beyonce pushed Rihanna down a flight of stairs.
Not at all.
And what about Jay-Z? Do you say, yo, Jay, they think you and I are...
No.
And let's not forget, she also had multiple hits in her early career. So people were like, God damn! This is the new Beyonce. In 2007, Rihanna was liberated with her third studio album, Good Girl Gone Bad. With this release, Rihanna started to become an icon in my opinion. You have to be there to understand the impact of the Good Girl Gone Bad era. The hair. Every girl had the Rihanna hairstyle, and that song, Umbrella, was playing everywhere. You could not escape it. Rihanna made her mark as a singles artist with Good Girl Gone Bad. 3 of the singles topped Billboard's Hot 100, Umbrella, Take a Bow, and Disturbia. And no one really saw it coming, as Take a Bow and Disturbia are from the album's reissue Good Girl Gone Bad Reloaded. With the album, Rihanna went from constantly being compared to Beyonce to creating her own lane, separating herself from the R&B influenced artists like Beyonce, Ciara, and Cassie, to an artist that can be taken seriously. Not that R&B isn't taken seriously. Anyway, she stopped following in everyone's footsteps and created a path for herself, a path for others to follow, with her being the leader. And she did this by creating her own standard. Now, when everyone referenced the Good Girl Gone Bad identity, Rihanna automatically comes to mind. Rihanna's transformation from a teen reggae/R&B image to a sex symbol is the last significant reinvention in music that is yet to be topped, in my opinion. Rihanna revealed during Oprah's Next Chapter that Def Jam's pop Princess Blueprint made her feel claustrophobic during the early years with the label. In the interview, Rihanna says, "I felt like they were giving me a blueprint. They had a brand, they had an idea of what they wanted me to be without figuring out who I was." At the 2007 American Music Awards, Beyonce was the first woman presented with the International Artist Award. After a montage of Beyonce accomplishments was played, you could see Rihanna in the crowd just being in pure awe, but little did Rihanna know how much of a superstar she would become in the future. Rihanna has an impeccable work ethic. Looking at her discography from 2006 to 2012, Rihanna has released an album every year with Rated R, her 4th studio album being the exception, seeing it was released 2 years after Good Girl Gone Bad, and that was for obvious reasons, which relates to her being physically assaulted by Chris Brown. Released at the beginning of the well-known, well-documented, and revered The Illuminati era, Rated R further pushed Rihanna into the untapped lane of the time by black female singers, the edgy rock aesthetic lane, showing us that she could do it all. The album incorporates rock, pop, hip-hop, and dancehall, boosting her to even more demographics, increasing her reach. Rihanna became an artist that is not bound by genres or looks. She's the artist and one of those rare artists who can do anything they want, and it sticks. And as Rihanna released more albums after Rated R, her R&B sound was less potent, and I'm not saying she didn't have soul, because she did have soul, but in other genres. She became a chameleon in the industry. It girl. By the end of the 2000s decade, R&B became less visible on US Top 40 radio and on the Hot 100. And I think because Rihanna was such a big name in R&B, whether you think she's R&B or not, her starting to shift away from the sound in the late 2000s to more pop and experimental sounds like house and dubstep, she became a trendsetter and the industry changed with her. And if you notice, other R&B artists like Beyoncé, Ciara, and Usher who tried to hold on to contemporary and traditional R&B kind of did not make the top 40 as much, or they didn't hit the level of success that was expected of them while still pursuing R&B. Look at Beyoncé's album 4 that was released in 2011. That was mostly a pure soul and R&B album. A great album, but that album did not perform well initially or to Beyonce's standards initially. And the singles initially, yes, I'm saying initially sometimes, flopped commercially. They didn't give what the world expected. Furthermore, with the release of Beyonce's 4, many would say that the artwork was more Rihanna inspired. For me, I do see a drastic change, but I wouldn't say Beyonce copied Rihanna because the looks were very drastic compared to the artwork from her previous albums. A lot of us don't really talk about this, but Rihanna ushered in a more revealing and sexual nature. And it's not that Beyonce was never sexual, but it's really interesting because in the 2000s, Beyonce led the pack for females in R&B. She was sensual but classy. In other words, Beyonce walked a narrow line, and we then saw Rihanna kind of mirroring Beyonce in the 2000s. However, by the 2010s, Rihanna took over, and then we saw Beyonce being more edgy and experimental with her visuals and sound, crossing the line of classy/sensual to explicit. We saw this especially on Self-Titled, Beyonce being more revealing and explicit, and take this however you want, but the tables were turned by the 2010s for Beyonce. And I believe Beyonce changed her moves because of how much Rihanna has changed the music industry with her fashion, music, and her likeness on a whole. I think Rihanna dominating and changing the game really shook and impressed Beyonce, so much so she had to take notes, and to me that is smart. Nothing is wrong with that, because if Beyonce can be inspired by Tina Turner and Michael Jackson and people are okay with that, then why can't she be inspired by Rihanna? Rihanna is now an icon and a living legend. She's the second best-selling female artist and the 8th best-selling artist of all time, selling over 250 million records worldwide, scoring 14 number ones on the Hot 100 so far. This made Rihanna the 4th artist with the most number ones in the US. She's currently behind, but not far from, Elvis Presley, Mariah Carey, and the Beatles. Rihanna is bigger than her music at this point. Her makeup line Fenty Beauty is killing the game, and her net worth sits at $1.4 billion US, making her the richest female musician. She is the perfect definition of a self-made billionaire. And I think Rihanna is a better example of what a self-made billionaire is. And all of that is good. Singles, money, but what makes her stand out the most is her importance to the culture and the love she has from her fans. At the start of her career, Rihanna mirrored her peers in the industry, but now the tables have turned and now her peers mirror her. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it. Do you think Rihanna has leveled up to Beyonce? And how do you feel about people acting like Rihanna is not worthy of praise artistry wise, seeing that she has broken so many records? Please like the shit out of this video. Thank you so much for 5,000 subscribers. If you have not subscribed yet, please subscribe to the channel. I have to get to my 9 to 5 in about 5 hours. Yes, your pop culture boy has a job. I am Don, and I will see you in the next one.